What's up? Sal, is your mic on? Oh,
Oh,
okay.
here we go. My mic is on. We do it
Yeah.
live. Welcome in, everybody. Welcome to the episode 4 of State of the Market. I'm going to do this every Saturday morning for you guys. So glad to have you folks in here. We got people coming in from all areas. We're live on Twitch, Twitter, or X now, Facebook, and YouTube. So thank you guys for joining in. There's going to be a good one for you guys. So
Oh,
going over
yeah.
everything in the markets, real estate, business, economy, how's it going to affect the election, the crypto markets, the stock markets, and everything. But let's get into some quick basic things. If you guys can just like and subscribe to this video and our channel, because as you guys know, this video is always sponsored by you folks watching us and taking the time to watch us out of your day. We really appreciate that, because Cody and I just like talking about this for fun, but the more that come in and watch, the merrier. We are happy to have you guys on. If you want to join the chat and shoot us some questions, feel free to go to the YouTube side and just chat away in there. We'll try to answer everybody's questions as they come through.
You know what's crazy? I just was thinking about this. Speaking on the crypto side, 2027 in about 3 years, a lot of coins like Chainlink and Quant, those will all be 10-year-old projects. That's crazy. Like they've been on the market for
Mhm.
10 years. So that goes to show how fast time flies.
Oh yeah, time. Make no mistake, folks. Time flies incredibly fast. Before you know, it's coming up on. What we've been talking about crypto and finances for what, since December 2021 when we did that road trip. It was like 3 years ago.
Yeah, going on 3 years ago
Yeah,
already. Yeah.
coming up on 3, yeah. It's crazy. So anyway, guys, let's get into it. Let's go over some of the basics. Of course, we got the crypto markets. The greed index for crypto is 87, which is interesting because the greed index for the markets is 70. We do have Bitcoin back in the high 60,000s, down about a little over a quarter of a percent on the day. Ethereum down about 1%. I might have.
Ethereum's been dropping harder than Bitcoin.
Oh yeah, I don't don't know. I just think it's just people getting out as they're cutting profits. Also, anyone that shorted it as it went up is definitely getting liquidated out. So just keep that in mind. But it is a good time to dollar cost average into some Ethereum. I might be doing that today. We got XRP holding the 62-cent line. We have Polkadot holding at $10, down about 2%. We have Chainlink down about 3%. Still good target to dollar cost.
Still a good buy target. Yes, Chainlink's still a good buy.
We got Litecoin at about 87. It dropped from over 100. So it's down quite a bit, but still only percent down on the day. We
Speaking
have
on
Cosmos down about 2%. Sorry, Cody, go ahead.
speaking on Chainlink, like the fact that we had the cycle low at $5 in June of
Mhm.
last year, now it's at 20. I still think it has a lot more room to grow to 100. At least $100 is not unrealistic at all for Chainlink.
No, I'll take that 5x any day of the week. Not trying to never try to get too greedy.
Yeah,
But we got Hedera down about 1.5% on the day to 11 cents. And we have good old Quant still holding just shy of 130, 129, down about 2.5%, but still up about 5.5% on the week. So I think we're just experiencing a little bit of a pullback as some people start to take profits, which makes sense. But I also want to state we got Solana really pumping hard, 31% up on 7 days, getting close to $200.
that's crazy. I mean, shoot. Solana was one of the coins most people said avoid.
Mm-hmm.
It was one of the ones most people said don't buy because of FTX and all that.
Well, what I think it was is it was at a low enough price that retail investors are now getting into it. And as you guys know, it is also the Tate effect that's happening. So as we're all familiar with everything going on. We know the Tate brothers and their effect, and the red pill effect is kind of pushing young men into trying to make as much money as they can, and they're starting to funnel in. And you also got to remember it's tax season, so people getting back their tax returns are investing it in stocks, crypto. They're trying to make some money, and there are people now who are feeling the tight squeeze of inflation, the job market, and everything. They're trying to use whatever extra money they can, whether it's 10, 20, 30, 50, $100 here and there, trying to invest it and make something off of it to help compensate for the losses from inflation. Just keep that in mind, guys, as we go on, as this market continues, because people are going to start really feeling the squeeze when the tax money runs out. I mean, even this year, car sales are going down still, and car sales during this time always picked up because people took their tax returns of 3, 5, maybe even $7,000 and put it as a down payment on a new car.
I don't even think most people are getting that back from their taxes
No,
anymore. This
it's
year was a sharp decline in returns.
yes, and keep in mind everybody's paying. Like I haven't gotten a return on my taxes in a while since my business has started making money. So it's been about 3 years, and this year is probably the most I paid in personal taxes. The real estate side, I paid more. I'm going to pay more this year in taxes, not too much more because I didn't buy a lot of new construction properties. I bought old properties that had a value, but their value went up a little bit because the market just pumped up a little bit in housing. So my taxes went up by like 10, 15%. But if you have a new property, expect your mortgage to go up between 500 and maybe as high as $2,000
Yeah. In
because
the
the taxes
2021
are
bull run, I got back like 3,000 back from taxes in 2021.
crazy. And a lot of it, I mean, I can remember when I was Cody's age and I was still working. I was working making about 80 to $100,000 a year in my first position, and I was still getting back like $5,000 or $6,000 every year in my taxes, which was crazy. I was getting back basically a paycheck for me. And now I'm seeing people that used to get that, you are no longer getting that, which is not a good sign. But I hope that,
What is that from? Like, why is that?
well, one, the governments as a whole, your state, county, township, your and the federal government all spent an exorbitant amount of money. So during 2020 and early parts of 2021, we keep saying, oh, they just kept printing money, but here's how it worked. All the government, every level of government, from your city to your township to county to state, all the way up to federal, were needing money. And what they do is they go to the government and say, hey, we need more money because we're experiencing problems. And the government just said, okay, well, for now, what we're going to do is print money by selling assets to the financial institutions, the big banks, and we're going to take that cash and disseminate it down to all the governments. And they made a program, the PPP loans, there were a lot of loans for a lot of things that you could do. They were also giving grant money for capital acquisition. So like if businesses needed to buy trucks, equipment, machinery, that's what that money was for. And now we need to pull that money out of the system. So what happened is through taxes, they are reducing inflation through taxes now, which means they're going to raise taxes, take the money, pay the debt back, and kind of remove the dollars out of the system. So in order to reduce inflation, you really have three ways. The central bank can start either buying stuff back or selling stuff, which pulls money out of the market, right? So the last thing they were buying up for the last 3 years, they were buying stuff, which was pushing money into the market. Now they're selling stuff, which is taking money out of the market, right? And then we have of course taxes, which is we're going to pay the debt that we borrowed back, which is really to ourselves, but basically they're taking the money out of the system and not giving as much money back out. So that's reducing the amount of physical dollars in circulation, which reduces inflation.
Do you
And
think a CBDC would help with that?
a CBDC will help with the value of the currency. It might decrease inflation a little bit, but not as much as the next thing, which is we have to start manufacturing things again in our borders and sending it out to other countries. That's how we would build value in our currency, because in order for those goods to be bought overseas, they would have to convert to US dollars, which increases the value and gives us other people's currency, which we then hold.
And see, that's why I like quant. That's why I'm big on quant.
So, but a CBDC will help stabilize value to the US dollar. But there's also a lot of ramifications about it. I am 100% positive the US is not ready for a central digital central banking coin. Like, it's just not ready for it.
Probably in the next 10 to 15 years. Yeah,
Yeah, I would even say 20 years, because
20.
right now it's viewed with such opposition. Now I have my doubts about it, and my scares about it, because I don't want someone to have that much control over my money. Now, you got a lot of you guys are in Cody's age group between 10 and 20, or I'm sorry, 20 and 30, and you guys are used to really a cashless system. My age group, the Gen Xers, we always carried cash. Like, I still have like in a fireproof safe in my house, some money just in case, power goes out, things go. I like having cash. I like having cash, physical cash in my wallet.
See, I don't like the idea of physical cash at all. I would never really want cash in my house at all.
But that's just the way we were.
Yeah.
It wasn't like we were scared or anything. It was just that if there was a storm and it knocked out power, you couldn't use your credit card, you couldn't use anything. But also, back in, like, when I was 20, most, like, if I went to Lord and Taylor to buy something, they still had the old credit card machine where they did the carbon copy. They took your credit card, wrote it down, and it would take like 4 or 5 days to process to get to your card. I was like, my 20s to 30s was the transition to what you guys are now. So it's like, I remember not having a cell phone, having a beeper for work. I remember when smartphones first came out and they were wildly expensive. But I also remember my first car I was paying $214 a month on a loan for a brand new car with no money down.
It's
So
crazy.
things have wildly changed, even in just the 20 years from when I was in my 20s to
My
now in
age.
my 40s. Hmm.
Yep. Everything's changed.
So, but keep in mind, there's nothing negative about the change. It's just that these things are happening. This is the economy that we set up. Now, will the values go back down? Oh, absolutely. Car values will go down again eventually, because if everybody stops buying cars, that means the prices are too high, and the system and the market will correct downwards, because the people that want to stay in business, they're going to drop those prices. That's just how the nature of the market
Do you
is.
think next year will be a good time to buy a car? Because next year will be the time when I'm in the market to buy one.
It probably will be. Probably like I'd say winter of next year,
I
because
wouldn't be surprised. Oh, sorry.
no, I was just saying winter of next year, because winter is historically the worst time for car dealerships. So they're hungry for a deal then.
Yeah, exactly. And see, that Lexus that I want, that 2018 I showed you, that I wouldn't be surprised if I can get it for like probably about low 20 grand, like 19 grand. I've seen some good deals for like 19 to 21,000 on that model that I want.
Hmm. And that's saying that that's a really, really good deal to get. And that now, I think they're going to come down a little lower, But you got also remember interest rates are only going to climb. The
Yeah.
guys interest rates. So don't be surprised if next year you're looking at a 15% with good credit on an auto loan.
See, I'm not even. I'm thinking about not even getting a loan. I'm thinking about just paying it all off, right?
Paying it off would be a good idea, or buying it cash. However, if you guys are like Cody's age and you're looking to get a house, what you need to do is you have to get an auto loan that's like a 5-year term and pay it off in 2 or 3 years. So it shows that you have a very good reputation of paying large amounts of money back quickly. So when you want to go get a mortgage for either your home or for like an investment property, that puts faith in the bank. That puts faith in you from the bank, because bank says, look, oh, okay, this person can do it. So if you're keeping good balances on your credit cards, paying off long-term loans in half the time, that makes you look very, very good for getting a home.
Let's say I wanted to buy it off in cash. So, like, would there be other ways to like do that other than an auto loan?
You could pay it off. You can get it in cash. Um, I remember when I was buying like a when I got it was like 2 years after my divorce. I was buying a Camry, and what I was doing, I was saving up for a Mercedes I wanted, but instead I just said, you know what, I have 40K. Let me just spend 20K, and you can negotiate down. Especially if you guys go and you look and you find like the old version of the car. So like if you go in and you see that they just changed the car to a new look, you probably will get a good deal on the used older newer car version, because they want the damn thing off their lot. Now, if you're going to buy cash, I would not go to a small local dealer. I would go to uh one like like if you want to get used Lexus, go to a Lexus dealer. Because if you go to the Lexus dealer, they don't want to lose their reputation, and they don't want to lose their standing with Lexus to sell cars. So they're not going to screw you over, because
Yep.
that's the one thing they cannot do. That's why I try to tell people. I know dealerships sometimes are expensive, but they will not risk their reputation and screw over the relationship with getting the cars from the manufacturer to screw you out of a couple $1,000s. They're
And
not
you
going to.
mentioned the brand I'm looking for because that's what I want, Alexis.
Absolutely. And don't get me wrong, guys, and I do apologize because I am answering some things for my businesses as we're going. I just happen to see something pop up. But the thing is that I always like to go to dealerships to get cars, and you can get nice certified used cars because like let's just say you want a Mercedes, but you don't want to pay like brand new Mercedes price. You want to get a certified used one. The manufacturer dealerships, which have a direct line to the manufacturer, are authorized to extend that warranty on the car. But if you get it from a third party, like an exotic car dealer, one of those consignment stores, if there's any warranty issues, you might not be covered by the warranty. The warranty might have can't be extended, can't be transferred, it can't be done anything. That's why you got to go to the dealership. That's another thing. I know a lot of these like YouTubers and influencers, they're showing you like these consignment stores and like exotic car dealers. You do not want to buy a McLaren from a third party dealer. You want to buy the McLaren from the McLaren dealer. You want to buy those exotic cars from that dealer. If you get to that point to where you have the money to do that, do not go to them. Go to the dealer, because you can get you can get financing directly from the manufacturer, and two, you're going to build a relationship with them, and in order for you to get the nicer, rarer cars, you have to build up a relationship of buying the entry level models from them, so that way they'll give you an allocation. That's just food for thought for you guys. Um, but give me a second. I'm gonna quickly go through this because we do have quite a bit of things to talk about because I know there's layoff fears, and I kind of want to quickly cover that. But before we do that, we are going to go and talk about stocks because we are still we are still in a good time to sorry, I do apologize. We're still in a good time to get into the stock market because it's better to be in the market than to try to time it. However, you just got to be careful because most of the companies are not faring too well in this transition of where we're going. Most people are not fair. Most companies are not faring too well in this transition. So let me pull up Market Watch here. Share this tab instead. As you can see, for market close, we're it's still about high 38,000s for the Dow, 5,100 for the S&P 500, and we're just shy of 16,000 for Nasdaq. They're all down about 1%, 0.5% to 1%. Now, I think what was leading Nasdaq was really Nvidia, but even Nvidia just posted that they lost $80 billion on a project. So I just want to kind of make that clear for you guys. Like, even Nvidia is losing money, but they are making products for that are necessary for companies going forward, especially with this new AI environment.
Where did that
Or
$80 billion go?
let me see here. They lost it on some project. There we go. I can tell you right now, looking at Nvidia, it's going to experience. The stock is getting ready for a stock split. I can tell you right now. Ooh, where's the news? News. Might have to go on Google to find it. There we go. Here we go. Nvidia's $80 billion loss. And he's basically got to spend money to make money is basically what the sum of this argument is. But I think I think it was just lost in projects over the time, like things that just didn't pan out. Because I just remember seeing the tagline for you guys, so bear with me. I'm just really seeing the tagline of it. But like I said, they have to spend an enormous amount of money on research. Like, even though they might have a few successful projects, they have to keep spending money to find new ways. And I think they're going to start spending money in quantum computing as well. Because as much as AIs are, you got to remember, guys, like
Quantum computing's huge.
it is going to be huge. But I want to say that, like, the human brain, what makes us in here, cannot fit on any hard drive device. Nothing we have can store what our brain can store. It's going to take generations of development in quantum computing to even come close to what our brains can do. So AI is growing and become better, but it's nowhere near capable what the true human mind can do. I think a lot of people limit what we actually are capable of because I think technology has dumbed us down a little bit, a lot of us down, but your mind is capable of so much information. And keep in mind, guys, as you're younger, or maybe you guys are young, you're playing sports, your mind is actually, even though you might not be consciously aware of it, you're processing physics problems, mathematical problems in your mind as you're shooting a basketball into a hoop, as you're running down, trying to anticipate where someone's going. Your mind is doing a lot. You just don't realize it. And quantum computing isn't even close to being able to match 1% of our brain's computing power. And what NVIDIA will eventually get into, which I think is the direction that they're going, is quantum computing, and really, really, really getting into quantum computing and trying to merge it with AI. That's what I think they're going to try to do. And if AI merges with quantum computing, then we're going to have a very powerful AI. But right now, AI is not powerful. It is replacing like secretarial jobs. It's replacing the calendar app on my phone. You know, it's replacing marketing jobs, because I don't need to pay a large sum of money to a marketing company. I can just type in what I want to Chat GPT, or there's a business version of it out there now, and it will spit back to me a really good marketing strategy and how to word advertisements and things like that, what pictures to use and everything. So I I think I think AI is coming, but it's kind of like in that stages right now. We got a good another 30, 40, or 50 years before it gets to where people are saying, oh, it's Skynet. It's a long way away. We just don't have the physical hardware to be able to have a program that has the capability of sentience, because we can't even understand our own sentience. And we have over a trillion neurons in our brains, networking, connecting, spreading information. We still can't figure out how that works. So we're a long way away from having AI be anything really serious. However, the little side hustles, marketing jobs, editing jobs, video jobs, all that, gone. Just gone. Even the thumbnail I used for this was made by AI. Like, you don't have to pay someone anymore. But in a sense, those side jobs will transition to, well, you're going to have to be a coder on the side, learn how to code AI, learn how to fix the programs, learn how to do all that stuff. That's where we're going. And luckily for us, I know people are talking about the downward, like the declining birth rate. It actually is kind of a good thing that we're having a declining birth rate right now, because we're replacing jobs, and automation has become itself, if that makes sense, because it's no longer we're initiating the automation cycle. The automation cycles are now just happening on their own. They're on autopilot themselves. So when something makes something, when we take the human element out of it and can have a machine, then all now that machine is making something that takes another element out from somewhere else. So we're losing we're losing the jobs that people would normally have, and we're going back to a society. Because keep in mind, guys, only one 100 years ago we had only a billion people on the planet. So in 100 years, we went from a billion people to almost 8 billion, and that was mainly because of factory farming, fast production of food, and fast production of material goods. Now we're at a point where, well, life, believe it or not, I know things are kind of stressful, but life is relatively good for us. Because if you go back 100 years to now, a lot of people say, let's go back to the old days. You don't want to go back to the old days. You don't want to go back to the old days. You're going to have 8 kids, because 5 of them will perish from diseases. You had polio, mumps, Spanish flu, measles, polio. You had all these other diseases running rampant, and that's not counting the ones that made it to around that are still around today. So you could die of almost anything back in the day. I don't want to go back to that. I like right now. Like, and it's unfortunate because we probably won't need people to make like physical people to make cars anymore. Probably won't need people in the next few years in the chicken plants working these hard jobs. But the idea of progress and automation is to take people away from that and use the brain power for more advanced and technical things. The problem is that our society has separated, and it's not wealth and poor. It really is the hyper intelligent and the drones. That's what we have people who are just smart enough to really do tasks, but they're not intelligent enough or have the capability to see things in a different light around us. This is why we're having a reverse of known facts. And I'm sure someone's going to be pissed off that I mentioned here about flat Earth and everything. If you believe the flat Earth in a flat Earth, you're a goddamn fucking idiot. Because how a magnetic field is produced is really, you have a ball of iron rotating this way with an inner core of a ball of iron rotating this way. So they're rotating in opposite directions to generate a magnetic field. That's how you make a magnetic field. But the fact that because it used to be people were like this. You can explain an idea to someone, and if they didn't believe it at first, they would understand it. Now, you're like this. You have people who can comprehend the next stages of the technology that's coming, and the concepts and the physics and everything behind it. And you got people that are believing that the sky is blue because there's water above the sky. So we're
That's hilarious. I've never heard that one.
that's
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 hilarious.
that's where we're headed to. And folks, we are going from the information age, where we're basically going from the industrial age to the nano age. That was the whole transition of the last 100 years, going from the industrial age to the nano age. And the nano age is going to be the roughest transition.
When did the industrial age start again?
Industrial age started right around
Late 18.
1860s.
Yeah.
And
1800.
then
Yeah.
with the advent of kerosene and oil production and the railroads being built, we kind of moved into steel manufacturing and everything else. And we were still industrialized all the way through, right up until about the 90s is when things really started to change, because then we started going from industrial and mechanical to semiconductors, technology, information, and the focus on physics, chemistry, expanding the knowledge there. You guys don't understand. They're on the physics, chemistry, and everything. I mean, there's a company out there being ambitious enough right now to make a goddamn warp drive. Do you understand what I'm saying? Guys,
A
like
warp drive?
some of the stuff that was just like, oh, it's just fiction, it's fantasy, it's becoming reality. Your your cell phone, this damn thing came from Star Trek. The laptop that I'm coming on came from Star Trek. Right, Gene Roddenberry came up with these type of ideas 50 years ago, and then some engineer said, that's pretty cool. Why can't we do that? AT&T saw how Star Trek portrayed video, like communicating through video, like what we're doing right now. And in the 80s, they started working on it. That type of brain power is no longer among everybody. It is now just, you got the intelligent people and you got the drones. And
The
believe it or
drones.
not, there's a lot of people who are just drones. They don't think too much outside their bubble, and they, believe it or not, they will do what they are told to do. That's just the simple. That's the simplest version I can give of it. And when the nano age comes, unfortunately, those people will be left behind because the people that are already up here, and even studies across Ivy League schools, Berkeley College, everything is saying that we are having the brightest people, their kids are getting incrementally smarter than the generation before. They're able to start to see concepts vastly different than even generations before. We're talking about we're eventually going to pump out a human that has an IQ of over 1,000 in probably the next 100 years. That's where
That's crazy. That's
That's where we're going.
crazy.
And the power behind an IQ of something that's over 1,000 means you are probably going to be able to understand extra dimensional spaces at that point. Your brain is capable of processing enough information quickly and efficiently that you might not be able to see the world as we see it now. You might be able to see the world in 5 dimensions rather than four. Height, width, was it height, width, length, and time is what is we're in the fourth dimension. Height, width, length, and time. Whatever that fifth dimension is, that person will be able to perceive it. That's where we're headed. And unfortunately, there's that huge gap. Every human advance, everybody was on the same page and we kind of moved up together. This time, there are people so far ahead of where what I'm saying is the drones, they're gone. And believe it or not, guys, I might be one of the ones who just gets left behind. Like that's just how it is. You're gonna start to see it probably when we hit our like 70s and 80s. We're gonna start to see it. You're gonna start to physically see those type of people coming about. And right now we are in that transition. The economy's changing, and the economy's not taking a slow time to change like it did in eons past. The economy's pivoting and juking like a running back trying to sprint across the field. It's
Crazy.
pivoting on a dime and changing in a direction, and it's going to be very hard for a lot of people to change because, like I've always said, in all our lives, the hardest, our best asset as humans is that we can change, but the worst asset is that once we change to what we want, we don't want to change again. Nobody wants to change. That's why it's so hard for people who have been in manufacturing. That's why there's still coal miner towns. That's why it's hard for people who went into IT and coding to leave IT to go do welding. We're in that weird transition stage where we kind of need both, but eventually we're only going to need one. And it isn't going to be the blue collar jobs. I know there's a lot of people saying blue collar money, but this is the last boom years of blue collar. The
You
last.
think so?
Oh yeah, I think in the next 30 years you will have machines making everything. They said that even when I was a little kid and you go back and do research on the articles and everything, the same people could not fathom robots building a car. And today, 60% of the assembly line is done by machines and robots.
Really?
Yeah, like you go to the Toyota plant in Ohio, m- most of it is assembled with machines. It's carried from one line to another by machine, you know, and there's just people along the way to ensure quality control, do some really fine tuning, but like
You're dropping gems.
most of it is done by machines, and eventually 100% of it will be done by machines, and you only have like two or three people kind of watching the plant that are able to fix the machines. That's really it, and even those will eventually get replaced. Kind of like if you guys have ever watched iRobot, where the FedEx delivery driver wasn't a person anymore, it was a robot. That It's not going to happen right away or now, but in 30 or 40 or 50 years, that's a strong possibility.
I think that's why they make movies like that, honestly. Like iRobot, for example, it like presents ideas like just like how you said with people, the AT&T, how they watch Star Trek and they got the idea of communicating,
Oh,
through
absolutely.
yeah, it's like movies like that are like that.
You
It's just
got you
showing a
guys got to
concept.
absolutely, and you guys got to understand, human innovation isn't driven by a scientist just coming up with stuff. Scientists and engineers are not that creative of thinkers. But how our system works is we have a writer, someone who fantasizes about stuff that will come up with something that's pretty cool and people like. Then what will happen is a scientist will say, huh, that might be theoretically possible, and will draw up all the theories and mathematics and the equations behind it. And then the engineer will come along one day and say, oh, I can make that. And then they make it. And then the innovation starts, and then the cycle repeats itself. So just like Star Trek has propelled us in many more ways than anyone will ever know, and it's affecting where we're going with space travel as well. So don't be surprised. Even in probably 15 years, we are going. Companies are going to start trying to mine ore and minerals on asteroids, other celestial bodies in our solar system. We are literally moving from a type zero civilization to getting close. I think they say we're like a type uh point 0.6 civilization. We are going to get closer to a type 1 civilization, which means we can literally harness the energy of the sun with 100% capacity. That's what a type 1 civilization is. Right now, we're at like 60, 70% energy capacity, which means we harness only about 60 to 70% of the energy we create. So 30 to 40% of it is a waste. When you start harnessing closer to 100%, you're capable of way more things. So you can imagine right now, under our current propulsion systems, it would take 100,000 years to get to the closest solar system, our closest neighboring solar system. If you're able to harness closer to 100% of the energy, we might be talking like 3 years to get to the closest solar system instead of 30,000 years. Like you guys see how the difference, just a simple change, just slow change. But we're not there yet, and all of us living today, we're in the transition stage. And what we got to suffer through, which is what nobody's really talking about in this economy, is we're suffering through the changes of society. We have too many people, and I hate to say it like this, but it is no way a disparaging to anybody who is not, is not a heterosexual on there. You have to understand that there's population mechanisms. And when you start seeing more homosexuality, you start seeing that means there's too many people. And those people have just been randomly selected by whatever genetic system, whatever combination of evolution and genetics, it paired them out so that way we can reduce the population a little bit. That's what's happening. That's what's happening right now. Because believe it or not, guys, factory farming is coming to an end because it's not sustainable. It pulls too many resources out of the soil for us to maintain the consistent growth in population. So we're going to go back to regional farming. And if we lose factory farming, I can tell you guys we're going to lose 90% of the fast food and restaurant industry because they're totally reliant right now on Cisco systems and factory farming. If you guys don't know what Cisco systems is, they're a food manufacturing distribution system. Also, a big stakeholder in that company is Monsanto. So just letting you guys know.
What, for Cisco?
Cisco system. You ever know why fast food kind of tastes the same everywhere you go?
Why?
Because it's Cisco systems. They're manufacturing the food, and it's all the same food. So, like when I was your age, Cody, and this was just 20 years ago, I could go to a pancake house, and then go to a restaurant, another pancake house, maybe 50 miles away, and it'd be totally different recipes, different taste, different everything, right? But now because of Cisco systems and factory farming, I can go to any pancake house across the country and it's all going to taste the same. There's no individuality with food anymore because it's all the same. It's all manufactured and it's highly genetically altered and processed foods, which our bodies, which unfortunately evolution cannot keep up with that. It takes generations, especially the more complex the organism is, and the longer those organisms live, the longer and slower the evolution cycle is. Because evolution takes like 25 generations to affect the true change, and for us, 25 generations is 2,500 years. So we change so fast that our physical bodies cannot adapt quick enough for it. That's the problem we're facing right now, which is part of the reason, like part of the reason why when people are saying like they can't lose weight, guys, I'm telling you, you'd be surprised at what is in some of the shit. That's why I don't eat Subway. I don't eat a lot of that stuff anymore. I worked in the food industry for 2 years, and I'll never eat that food ever again, because to preserve the food so it can make it from the factory where it's produced to the place it's being sold, they have to put high concentrations of salt in it. And then the bread has high concentrations of sugar so it doesn't burn. So you get this like if you guys can picture the McDonald's buns, that's because of high concentrations of sugar. So you're looking at, not only are you getting more salt than you'll ever intake in your life in that one meal, you're also getting not more salt in your life. I'm exaggerating, but more than you should. You're probably getting 2 or 3 times the amount of sugar you need for the day in there. So, and factory farming, this is my prediction. We're not really off topic, but I'm telling you guys, like, factory farming is coming to an end because the ground just physically can't make the same food anymore. So we're getting nutrient depleted food, and even though everyone's gaining weight, we're literally starving. We're literally starving right now. That's what people don't understand. It looks like we're overweight, over gluttonous, and everything, but most of the people who are overweight are literally physically starving because they're not getting the nutrients that we're supposed to get. What the factory food that we made is just fluff. If if I think what I'm thinking is correct, which my gut is telling me, I see a collapse of that market in the next 5 years. It's just not sustainable. The amount of consumption is just not sustainable. Shout out to Crypto Dream. Welcome in, buddy. Uh, Great supporter. But let's get on to the next part of it. Um, get on to the next part that I want to talk about, which is the layoffs, which are happening. Um, Man, I hate this. Oh, not this. Where is it? Oh, here it is. Got the right one. Okay. My bad, folks. My bad. And I hate how they have this here. There we go. So, Family Dollar, like many other retailers, are starting to close stores. And Family Dollar, even though it's a privately held company, they are going to close 1,000 stores. So that's effectively putting 5 to 6,000 more people out of work. Not to mention their trucking system, they're going to lose another 300 to 400 drivers, CDL drivers. So this is not looking too good right now. This is kind of adding to, we're in that weird time where On paper, the economy looks like it's booming, but in reality, we're just not making people aren't making enough to survive, and then we're throwing the hardest hit people by inflation and the economy. They're the ones losing their jobs. So remember what I said about you're up here or you're a drone? Well, the drones are starting to be disposed of. That's basically what it is. And every time unemployment goes up, we now lose close to about 84,000 people die every time unemployment goes up a percent.
Really?
Yes, it used to be something like 20 or 30,000 people died every time inflation went up a percent, but now we're looking at like 84,000, I think, for every percent point. So for every tenth of a percent that we go up, 84,000 people are dying for it. That's the numbers I read this year. And every time we have a change, we're losing people. And I know there's a lot of people saying, well, it's the elites, it's all this. It's not. It's not. It's very tragic. Yes, Crypto Dream is very tragic, but it's not. There's no elitist culture doing this. It's just the change and progression of what we are going through. And really, like places like this used to be the haven for inner inner cities and the more impoverished people because if you guys don't know, Family Dollar, Dollar Tree, Dollar General all sell food. And I remember when I was dirt poor after my divorce, I would go to the Dollar Tree because I can get a big thing of chicken for $1. So I would get like 10 or 12 of those and that would give me enough food for the month. I could grocery shop there for 50 bucks. It wasn't the best food, but it was survivable. And that's when my weight gain started. Was because I had to go to places like this where I'm getting low value food and that's what I had to eat to survive because I couldn't afford to go there. And a lot of people don't know. I went to Whole Foods. Like I've been shopping at Whole Foods for the last 2 years, right? 2 years. I went from 400 pounds. This is just from like I only recently went back to working out like in the last few months, but I went from like 420 to just about like 300. So you're talking about 120-pound loss off of just eating better quality food. However, my grocery bill went from $100 to now $1,500 per month. And that's really just for myself. So now that you guys understand it, I can tell you there's a lot of people who are overweight that it's really not it's it's kind of their choices, but it's the fact that they can't afford to make the better choice. Because when you go and shop, if you're getting cold cuts for $1, how much sodium do you think is in there versus cold cuts at Whole Foods or some of these even higher, more organically grown, no additives, no preservatives food stores like there's like one place in California, like the average family spends like $3,000. A family of four will spend $3,000 to $4,000 a month at that place. It's like a real high end luxury food store. And then you see that everybody in there is in shape. But then when you go to a place like here, everybody is like 400 pounds. It has nothing to do with willpower. It has nothing to do, well, part of it does have to do with willpower because, you don't have to eat the Snickers bars too there. But, there's twice as much sodium in that chicken. You buy the bread, there's way more sugar in there. I mean, you're no longer buying fresh fruits and vegetables, you're buying canned, which also has a lot of salt and sugar in that preservative liquid to preserve it for long periods of time. It's also heavily pasteurized, the canned goods. So what that means is they superheat it to remove all the bacteria, and then they add salt and high fructose preservatives to preserve the food so that way it can last a long time as it's shipped from overseas to here to get to a shelf on a Family Dollar. And like, people understand, this is the main reason. This fast food, and even now fast food is too expensive for them. So this is kind of like their last option for food. And these guys are closing down. So I don't know if you guys are familiar with Gary in Indiana, but a lot of like Detroit, the inner city of Detroit, the impoverished areas are all going to look like Gary, Indiana. Nobody's going to be there. It's going to be ghost towns. And what's happening is with the exiting of businesses like this, which are cheap food sources for people who are making under $28,000 a year, those people can't afford to move, especially now. How can you afford to move? You can barely afford your car. You're not maintaining the car, and you can't afford the gas. It's between gas and food. They're stuck. So now, with these going, this isn't the only one. I think Dollar General is closing like 500 stores. I think a few other places are closing stores. I know Five Alive is closing quite a bit of stores. Most companies are closing between 10 and 15% of their retail locations. And they're playing it off as like, well, we're trying to be more competitive with online. It has nothing to do with online. It has everything to do with maintaining margins. This store has nothing to do with online. Family Dollar does not need to do anything online. Everything they do is in person. That's not going to change no matter what technology does, because the person who's making less than $28,000 a year is not shopping on Amazon. They're going here. They're going to stores like this. And shout out to Crypto Dream. We don't even have the accurate numbers. And I know I didn't shout you up, but shout out to DYOFR, another great supporter. So welcome in. He's been in here the whole freaking time. So thank you so much because you could be anywhere else and you're watching us. So we really appreciate that. We're having the losses here, and it's just not looking good for anyone who's in the working class or in the lower classes of our society. It's not looking good, which is also part of the reason why crime is starting to rise. And even officers now are seeing people that used to say, well, they shouldn't be stealing that. They're now noticing these guys are stealing like bread, food. They're just stealing basic necessities. So they're like, I know for a while there during the pandemic, we saw they're rushing Macy's, rushing Lord. They're rushing these stores, right? Taking high value merchandise, but they're not now. They're just taking what they need to survive, which is food, because it's now impossible for these guys to get food and pay rent. These people never had to pay more than a few $100s a month in rent, and they could through a lot of government programs. Rent was low, but now they went from $300 to $1,300 to now almost $3,000 per renting a home. How are they going to survive? Like how are you going to keep buying food? Their wages aren't going up, so that's why I'm surprised that Family Dollar is saying that they're closing and they're reducing, because when we have times like this, these guys make bank. When the Great Recession hit, Family Dollar, Dollar Tree, Dollar General had the best years of their entire existence. They were making money left and right. They could not even get people to staff their stores. They were that busy. I remember I was working at Radio Shack as a district manager, and I remember Dollar General coming to me and saying, hey, we have a regional manager position open because we just can't get enough people and we're doubling our storefronts. That was like, that was like 2013, I think it was. So, I mean, this is going to be a rough transition for a lot of people. Very rough. Very rough. And this isn't the only area. We also have the tech industry laying off tens of thousands of people. Google's still laying off, committing to 8% reduction in labor force. We have Walmart committing to 10%. We have all these places starting to lay off. The only place I haven't heard of is Apple laying off, but I'm sure it will come. But speaking of that, more on a positive note, we have real estate no longer getting their 6% commission. No longer. The days of making $100,000 as a real estate agent in 1 month are over, unless you're going to be fantabulous at selling, which is going to help people sell and buy homes. Because you got to remember, the seller had to pay the 6% commission off the sale of their home. So I don't know what they're agreeing on now. Rumor is it that it's going to be like 3%, but 6% was a lot of money. So you can imagine you sell $1 million house, your agent's getting $60,000. You are no longer getting $60,000. They're just no longer doing it. So now that 60 is 30, and 30 might be split, but I think it might even be lower than that. So what we're going to see this summer is the last final hoorah boom of the housing market. We're going to see sales like we've never seen sales before. And then it's going to cut off. I know it's a little grim to think of it that way, but because the reduction in real estate commissions, more people will sell their homes because now they get more money from the sale. They get more of the equity position that they have in their home. And people buying homes don't have to pay as much in closing costs. So it's making it a lot easier for everybody. So keep in mind, if you guys are looking like Porch Moving Group is going to be heavily affected by this. They're going to make a lot of money this year from this. Oil and gas companies, of course, will make money because we're going to have movers moving people and everything. Kind of the last bit of the trucking era that's going, because hotshot deliveries, goods deliveries are all crumbling right now. So the moving industry is the only one that's kind of like, yeah, we're making money right now. And even I see it in my moving company. My sales have doubled back to where they were. So I lost 25% of my revenue last year. I'm probably made that back and then some so far this year. So I'm going to be, I don't know how this summer's going to be busy. It's going to be wildly busy. So just keep that in mind. The housing market isn't going to crash this year, but it is going to be a boon of selling and buying over the next 6 to 7 months. Now, this all comes on the heels of obviously the election year, but the economy is still not good for everybody. And a lot of people Cody's age, they're not the ones that did vote for Biden or were Democrats or are no longer going to vote for Biden. So I'm very curious as to how the economy is going to affect the election, which the election and who becomes president is going to affect the next 4 years, or really the next 8 years of the economy. Where are we going? What are we doing? How are we surviving? How are we going to make it? It's an interesting, very interesting kind of dynamic because we have people making it. There are people like me who are doing very well. There are people like Cody who are doing pretty good for themselves. But there's a lot of people who are not doing well. There are a lot of people getting notices to laid off. Actually, the other day, we did a cleaning service, or my cleaning division did a cleaning service for a regular customer of mine, a woman who pays for her daughter to have her daughter's house cleaned because she works a lot. She just got laid off, and she worked at a university. So I'm thinking, and I know we're all announcing the big layoffs, but we're not seeing the small layoffs that are happening, like the 100 here, the 50 here, the 10 here, the 20 here. Small businesses reducing staff, not replacing, things like that, finding ways to work more efficiently with less people. Even McDonald's, they kind of it was a kind of a quiet layoff. They replaced a lot of what they needed with those order machines. So you don't need like 7 or 8 cashiers anymore during the busy time. You just need one person to go over there and give orders. I mean, I went to McDonald's when I was out on the road, right? With with my with my helper that we were doing a move on, and it was the same thing. It was literally the thing. 99% of us went and used the order machines, and then they and then like I think like 2 people walked up and ordered. That was it. They were busy, but they only had 5 people working, and it was busy. I used to remember when you had like 30 people in the restaurant every, at any given moment during rush hour, the rush hour of the business. There's always probably like 20 people working, like one person making burgers, one person putting the burgers together, one person getting the fries made, 2 or 3 people working drive through, 2 or 3 people working the cashiers. You got a front end manager, a back end manager, general managers there now. You got a lot less people, and you don't really need it. So it's definitely going to be interesting. Shout out to Crypto Dream. There's nothing in the news about a certain layoff I know. Oh yeah, I know they're not really trying to report layoffs as much. The only ones that get reported are publicly traded companies because they have to announce it. They, according to their status as a publicly traded company and the regulations set by the SEC, they have to announce what they're doing. So if it's a privately held large company, we generally don't know if they're laying off people or not. And those are the layoffs that we have because believe it or not, most companies are privately held. Not every company is a publicly traded company. Not every big company is a publicly traded company. Most companies are not publicly traded. They are just privately held companies. There's a lot of furniture stores out there that are huge that are privately owned. Nebraska Furniture Mart, Furniture Row, they're billion-dollar companies that are privately owned, but they don't report it, but they are laying off people. I know my buddy who runs the Furniture Row here. He used to have 20 salespeople because he was busy. 2, he was allowed to have that. Now he's only having like 6 salespeople, 2 assistants, and himself, which is half the staff. He's got 1 warehouse guy instead of 4. He's got 2 delivery drivers instead of 4. So stuff like that, and they pay very well. They pay phenomenally well, and they're cutting people back. So I hear your Crypto Dream. There's a lot of layoffs that are happening, and that's what people are not accounting for is that we are probably losing unreported probably 50 to 60,000 jobs per month right now. Per month. And you wouldn't know because, like Furniture Row doesn't have an outside company doing its payroll. It does all its payroll in house. So how would you know what its data is? Because they're not reporting it. They don't have to. So there's companies like that. I do my own payroll. Unless I tell people, you wouldn't know that I've been scaling back over the last 13 months. You just wouldn't know. So just be worried about that. because like the things are coming. But I want to talk a little bit about IBM. Get this close. I'm not paying for that. No thanks. Come on. Okay. Because even IBM, they're starting to lay off some people too. And they're telling here a lot of articles saying it's unclear how many, but I'm going to guess right around 10%. I'm going to guess right around 10% of their workforce. Now, keep in mind, guys, every healthy economic boom in the economy always had between 6 to 8% unemployment. Right now, the numbers are reporting at 3.9%. But unfortunately, because it is an election year and there are politics played in those government appointed positions, that they're trying to fudge the numbers a little bit, try not to make it seem as bad. Because I don't think we're really, I think we're losing somewhere between 60 to 70,000 jobs per month. I think the unemployment's probably around getting close to 8%. Ooh, excuse me. I think it's probably getting close to 8%. Not sure, but it's probably getting there, right? I have a feeling by the time we get to the election, someone's going to find out the true unemployment, and it wouldn't surprise me if it's like 11, 12, or 13%, because there's too many people out here looking for jobs. I mean, during the week, I could sit here and I have at least 8 or 9 people just walk into my office here, look up my businesses and say, "Hey, are you hiring? I need a job. I just lost my job." I had one person, I hate to say, because I don't have an opening for them. They're living in their car. They're out of money. So it's like, it's rough. It's rough out there. If you got a job, now's not the time to say, I got a beef with my boss, so I'm leaving. Oh, I feel it's toxic here, I'm leaving. Because let me tell you something about work and life and your bills. They don't even care if you got cancer. You could be dying of cancer. The mortgage is going to say you got paid, or we're going to kick you out. Your landlord's going to say you got to pay rent, or we're going to kick you out. Your car note's going to say you got to pay it, or we're going to repossess the car. They don't care. As cold as it sounds, they do not care about you at all. You're just a number in a file in their business. That's all they care about. They don't care about the person-to-person interaction. They don't care about anything. They want their money. They don't care that you're dying. And if you do die, they will go after your kids if you got them. Your estate, they'll take your estate. So like if Cody owed a lot of money and God forbid he left this world, his debts would be taken out of his assets. And then if he had kids, they would get whatever's left. His family would get whatever's left. That's the cold reality of this world. There's nothing changing about it. The only thing you can do to fight it is to work hard. And if you do see if someone at work isn't pulling their weight, pull their weight for them. Show how useful you are right now. Because I'm telling you, if people see that you're not useful, if the business sees that you're not useful, they're going to make a decision. Like I have a huge contract on my logistics division with American Furniture Mattress, and they just closed 10% of their stores. In my area, that affects 20 stores. That will no longer be around. 20 stores that will no longer be around. Those people are upset. They don't know what they're going to do. They have until the 29th. So they got basically 2 weeks to get their finances together in an economy where ain't nobody hiring. So keep that in mind. That's the quiet stuff that's not happening. And you need to realize that I hate to say it, but it's fuck your feelings, fuck your attitude, fuck whatever your thoughts are. Shut the hell up and work. That's what the world is. And a lot of young people, young millennials and Gen Zers, that's going to hit a lot of you in the face. Now, you could be like Cody, who has a great portfolio. He doesn't waste his money on any stupid shit. He doesn't go out and spend $500 a night on drinking. He's not out every weekend clubbing. He's working, saving his money, investing, and has a plan for his future. Young people like Cody will survive this this incoming recession, damn near closer to a depression. But if you don't have the attitude of I'm going to work harder than anyone else, my boss comes in an hour early, I'm going to come in 2 hours early. My boss does this, I'm going to take it over so that they don't have to do it. I'm going to do it better. I'm going to bring value somewhere. We're not making enough in this area. I'm going to try to find a way to make more money in this area. Those are the type of people that stay. Those are the type of people that will always have a job. If you're just coming in, you're always 5 minutes late, you're always complaining, you're always got some excuse, you always say I'm not doing more than my job and title, you're going to be the first one that they give the axe to. Because trust me, there are meetings happening right now across the country in medium-sized, regional, big companies, nationwide companies, and they're going through their employee files, looking at pictures saying, yeah, keep that person. Oh, no, screw that person. Get rid of them. No, they're not productive. Get rid of them. They're lazy. Get rid of them. They're this. Get rid of them. They're going through you right now. So instead of looking like, instead of having a shitty employee file, try to build an employee file of gold so they can't get rid of you. And the ones that they can't get rid of, that if they get rid of you, will see a visible loss in revenue. You're going to be the one to stay. That happened to me at Radio Shack. They would not give me a promotion. I left. They suffered a 40% loss in revenue for my store. Guess what happened? They called me back and gave me a promotion because they realized it's better to give me the promotion than to lose 40% of revenue on one store that was covering the losses of all the stores. It was better to do that. Whatever this guy was doing, we need him. That's what you want to be. You want to be like me. Even now, I get calls all the time from big companies, retail companies, even another furniture chain that's up in the Northeast offered me an $800,000 a year salary just to be more of a liaison, consulting, and management position. Like that's all it was. So just keep in mind that like you want to be that valuable. And like I said to you guys, fuck everything else. Focus on getting your shit together because this is going to be the roughest time. Roughest time. Anything that these influencers are saying, not going to work for you. Anything that all this other stuff is out there saying, getting passive income, escape to 9 to 5, it's not going to work. Get out there and work. If you're on your own business, work harder. If you're working for somebody, work harder. It's the same answer. We just have to work harder. I can't stop. My bills for the business don't care. The people that get a paycheck from me don't give a shit if I have cancer. They don't give a shit about me. They want their money for the work that they did. I have to make sure I pay them. Same thing with you guys. They don't care about what's going on in your life. Your car note, your mortgage, your rent, your phone bill, all has to be paid. All has to be paid. So make sure you're not living a life of abundance because you really don't have abundance. We all got to live a life of frugality to make sure we make it. And these layoffs are just going to keep happening probably for the next year, maybe 2 years, maybe even 3 years. People are just going to be cutting until they can't cut no more. They're going to cut till they can't physically get cut anymore. The layoffs are just going to be unending and unyielding. Don't think for an instant that you're safe. Don't think at all that you are going that your job is safe. act like your feet are to the fire every day and keep pushing and grinding to where you got to be. So I know went off on a little bit of a rant, but just keep in mind that you really, really, really gotta work hard to get where you're going. Hey, Cody.
Yep.
Okay, there we go. Seemed like you were bouncing in and out there.
Yeah, it was the
No worries. No worries. Oh, excuse me. Whew. So I think that pretty much covers the topics. Really wasn't too much for me to say. I got a little bit more to say about the auto industry. Um, although there's nothing really I'm going to pull up on there, but I'm going to pull up Carvana on here. Let me pull up Carvana. They are experiencing some roughness here. So let's go look at the last 3 years. I mean, their price stabilized. Seems like it's going back up, but man, you look here. It has not done well. But industries like this, like the car industry, are probably not going to be around in the way that they were in the last 60 years. Now, what Carvana tried to do, and it seems like they're the last one standing in the online car industry where you don't have to come to a physical dealership, everything can be done online. However, these guys are losing the ability to sell used cars in states. And I'm not a big fan of the fact that the founders of the company were convicted of a scam before. So, I mean, there's always a redemption arc for everybody, but this does not bode well, in my opinion. And the car industry as a whole right now, people can't afford cars. And I'm starting to see the mechanics in town, they're booked. I had to take my truck in to get routine maintenance. I had to schedule an appointment because it's just people are no longer buying cars. They're going to find ways to try to fix them. And if they can't afford to like replace an engine, they'll get a payment plan for that. Or they'll find a way to pay the mechanic, It's not looking good. And auto loans are getting harder and harder to get. It took me forever. It took like 2 months to get the loan together for me to buy 6 trucks. I had to replace trucks. I wasn't even like adding trucks to my fleet. I had to replace. So I was buying like 6 Mack 26-foot box trucks. Very nice trucks. I like them. But it took forever to get that loan through. So I can only imagine what it's like for the average person just trying to replace their car or get a new car, you know. So I foresee dealerships are going to be tight. They're gonna start shrinking down. Not only that, the big ones, if they don't have a service, if they're not good at their service department, they're going to be in some trouble. They're going to be in some real trouble in the coming in the coming in the coming months, because we did not see the spike in auto sales from the tax return event. So I have a feeling it's going to be a rough couple years for them. However, if you're looking to get a car for yourself, make sure your credit's good and make sure you have a good down payment and a good plan as to what car you're going to get, because that's going to help you a lot. Definitely try to avoid the small time dealers. Try to go to like a Ford dealership or the manufacturer dealership. But other than that, I do not have too much to say. I'm going to put in here if anybody wants to join in live. and ask their questions or things. We'll have a quick Q&A, but I don't really have much else to say. I think I've been talking for the last hour and a half about it. I know we kind of covered all the topics I wanted to cover. There really isn't too much other going on. Only thing I could say is the economy is going to be presented as doing okay or well because it's an election year. And trust me, you're going to start seeing a lot of ads that Biden created a good economy, Biden created a good economy, Biden created a good economy. It's kind of like we're in the part where someone's ringing the bell that the tsunami's coming, and everyone's looking at that person like, are you really ringing the bell? Is there really a tsunami coming? Is there really something happening? That's kind of like where everyone is right now. And I hate to say it, but it's like that's kind of like where everyone is right now. I don't think there's any black swan events to happen. I think it's just the natural progression of the data and what's going on in the economy as to where we're headed. I hate to say it, but there's just going to be more losses. And unfortunately, more losses means more gains for me, for someone like me. You know, when people start losing their houses, I get more rental properties for cheap. Even people who built new apartments, I can go get those for cheap because they defaulted on their loan. I can go buy my personal stuff for cheap. I can go get stuff a little easier. And then when the economy comes back, I make even more money. So, but I do think crypto has the ability to save us from that disaster, save the common folk from that disaster. Because for once, the average person can get in on something at the ground level. And you're still at the ground level, make no doubt about it. Crypto is still at the ground level, even if we hit what I think the market will hit a valuation of 20 trillion in the next couple of years. You're still at the ground level, and you still can make quite a bit of money by getting in on this market, as long as you invest in the right things. Don't go investing in shit coins and meme coins. I'll give people a few more. We'll give people a few more minutes if someone wants to come in and kind of speak their piece about the economy, or if you want to share your thoughts or anything like that. You are definitely welcome. Just come on to YouTube or Twitch or Facebook and hit that link in the chat to join us. Really appreciate anyone's thoughts and comments on there. Cody, just if you were in our Discord, if you're signed up on our Patreon in our Discord, Cody announced that Polkadot airdrop of DED token, the meme coin, is launching, and you get what was it, 1,000?
You get 1,000 per one you have. So like I have 1,000 dots, so I'm gonna get 1,000,000 dead, depending on the price of dead. But we don't know the price of it because it's not on the market yet.
Yeah. Hey, even if it's like an airdrop of like $500 or $600, that's like bonus money. Either cash it out and put it towards crypto of your choice, or just cash it out and just take the cash.
I might buy more dot with it because depending, 1,000,000 dead could be worth something, or just hold it for the fuck of it. You know, it's an airdrop.
I mean, it's free, so you're just getting it for free. So, and I think you have to be staking directly with the Polkadot staking.
I'm pretty sure like people staking on a centralized exchange like Coinbase, they're gonna get it too. But it's mainly the people who are staking like on a ledger. It doesn't matter if you're staking on a pool or a ledger. Like I'm staking it on the ledger, so I'm gonna get it regardless.
Okay, because I think if you were staking in those DeFi pools, you are not going to get it. You have to be staking on the ledger or directly with Polkadot, or I guess through Coinbase or Uphold. And they're the ones that have the staking.
My staking has even gone up. Shoot, I get like one Polkadot a day. That's like $10 a day just through staking.
Yeah.
Like I get $10 a day just through locking up my Polkadot.
Yeah, exactly. And you're looking at, if you think about $10 times 365, Cody's making $3,650
A year just off of staking.
off of 1,000.
Yep. That's about an extra almost 4,000 a year just in Polkadot.
Oh yeah, and so I mean, if you were staking close to 50,000 DOT, you're making 52,000 a year just off of staking DOT.
That's what I'm saying. I know a guy who posted on Reddit. He has like $200,000 in DOT just off of that 200,000 he has locked up in Polkadot. He's making like 25,000 a year just off of that stake.
Yes. So, and that's a legitimate stake. That's not a pump and dump scheme. That's not like Voyager or Celsius. That's staking directly with Polkadot to validate their network.
Yep. And see, I did the math. Even if I don't buy any more Polkadot and I just let it build up, I'll get like an extra 200 DOT by the end of this year.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll be at 1,200 DOT.
Now, I would always recommend dollar cost averaging, especially with Polkadot. $10 is low. I mean, even now, even if you're just getting in now, that's still low. I mean, don't think about missing the boat at $5. Think about, I'm getting on at a good position at $10 because
All
it
time
only
high was
doubled.
55.
Yeah,
Just off of my 1,000 DOT, Polkadot goes to all time high. I'll have 55,000 just sitting in Polkadot.
exactly. And Cody and I were buying Polkadot when it was like $25. And as it was going down, Cody and I just kept dollar cost averaging, keep putting money in until now we're thinking about like, I'm not going to put much more money into it. Although for me, I have been buying DOT, Link, Quant, and Bitcoin like crazy. Not so much Bitcoin, but today I might buy some Bitcoin because it's under 70,000. And I have a feeling Bitcoin is going to hit 100K in the next few months.
Oh yeah, By the end of this year, if we're more bullish, it could be around 100K, especially in January. I wouldn't be surprised in January if it's around 110, 115.
Oh, absolutely. Let's see, because like most people are assuming that after the halving, when was the last halving? It was
May 2020, 4 years ago.
So like right around here, right? So you see how the price slowly went up, and then it was right around the end of the year, it kind of spiked again. And now we're here, and it's the halving. The halving hasn't even happened yet, and we're already spiking again.
So that means I feel like it's been priced in already. I feel like because we've had this huge run up, I feel like the Bitcoin halving is already priced in. I feel like eventually after the halving, it's going to be like a sell the news event.
Absolutely. I'm going to tell you guys, I have a feeling it's just going to steadily rise over the next 3 to 4 months. Like right around when we get to September. So we got April, May, June, July, August. Okay, 5 months. So when September hits,
my birthday,
it's going to skyrocket. But we're going to have a steady increase until then. I would say 5 to 6 months we'll hit 100K. But I have a feeling we're going to get to the 90s in the summer. And if that happens, Ethereum's going to raise. All the blue chip cryptos are going to raise with it.
Yep. That's usually.
So if you're just getting into crypto now, It's a good time to set that dollar cost average plan, but make sure that you have your reserves set. You don't want to be investing in crypto in the beginning and then have to take out of crypto because you suffered an emergency. You have to fix a tire, you have to fix your car, you have to cover an unforeseen bill. That's not the time for you to invest. That is the time for you to pay off debts, get your emergency fund. You want to be like Cody. Cody has almost zero debt. He just has his credit card, which he's been steadily paying off.
Yeah, that's the only thing I have, just my credit card.
So Cody's in a really good position. You want to be in that good position. But a lot of you, and I notice a lot of young people also might have a one or two children. You got to have a reserve first before you really get into crypto or even stocks. Make sure you have that reserve first. But with that said, I think we're coming to the close here.
It's mainly just about taking profits. Like a lot of people, they don't think about the taking profits. Like for me, I have a profit taking strategy. Like I know at what prices to take my profits. Like I've already made a plan for coming out of the market.
Yeah, exactly. Making sure you have a plan too towards your investing.
Because I know for a fact if Bitcoin's 100K or more, my portfolio is going to be at a point to where it'll change my life. So I'd have to take it out.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You got to have a plan. I have a plan for mine, and my portfolio is huge, but you don't need to have a huge portfolio. Even if your portfolio is only $6,000 right now, have a plan for what you want to do with it, with the profits. And make sure you have an exit strategy. We have one of our guys, George, in our network, in on our Patreon and in our Discord group. He has a precise plan of his exit strategy for the bull run, and he is up significantly right now.
Oh yeah, he's a smart dude. Yeah. Didn't you say what it was that dude? Him and his wife were both investing in it, and both.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They are making, and this goes to show you that's going to change their lives significantly. They are going to go from, they are going from, I don't know if I can retire to where do I want to retire? That's what's happening. So keep that in mind. So shout out to George, great supporter. He's been watching. I know he works in the medical industry, so they're very busy, but wonderful guy, wonderful family. They got their plan and they got their execution strategy. That's what you want to be like. That's what you want to be. Don't listen to these influencers talking about making passive income or anything. Make sure you have an exit strategy to get your profits, pay your taxes, and then go into another asset to continue cash flow.
Yep.
Which I highly suggest getting rental property, especially if you're in a position where you got a couple 100,000 that could turn into a couple million. You will have the reserves to not only be able to live a comfortable life, but also be able to get the rental properties, cover any problems that may happen, and expand rental properties. But keep in mind, guys, building wealth doesn't stop. It doesn't stop. You have to keep going. Wealth and money are like water. Just because you filled up your bucket of wealth doesn't necessarily mean you can stop, because what's in there is going to evaporate away. So you got to keep refilling it. You got to try to get a bigger bucket. You trying to get as big as you possibly can, as big as a collection of wealth that you can. And you kind of need money like you need water nowadays, because money pays for the things you need. So you're going to need it. And you're going to need a lot of it if you want to retire. And you're going to have to manage it right. And you have to continually grow. I'm at the point now, I'm meeting new people in the network, in like these networking events and everything, telling me, man, you're so busy, you're so wealthy, but you could stop. I could stop. I just had my daughter. I could stop. I'm done. I could say I'm done And I have more than enough money to live, but I know, you know, I don't want to be subject to inflation. I don't want to turn 80 and say, "Hey, I got to go back to work." Things like that. I don't want to do that. I want to have enough money to keep growing it and just keep going. And part of me likes doing this, no matter how hard or challenging it gets. And sometimes I could be facing, like, it seems like every year, even with the success I'm having, I'm still scared of bankruptcy over the hill. Like, it's still there. It's
And
still
that's what I'm saying. That's why everybody can't be a business owner, because a lot of it's like you have to worry about stuff like that.
like I made off of dividends and everything, off of my construction company, my furniture store, my chain of furniture stores, my real estate properties, all 230 doors, the moving and logistics company, and the home services. Well, it's really a home services company now. All of that I have made, and most of it came from construction. Like a little over $8 million in dividend in income. That was my personal income for last year. Now I did pay almost 2.5 million in taxes, and I also caught up on some of the taxes that I wasn't able to pay in some years. So, and I did give my brother and my parents the money and to repay what I borrowed from them to build this for everybody. Even still, with that left, I'm still reserving it. It's a lot of money. It's game changing. It's life changing. I still have roughly about 3 million left, and I'm putting it to work slowly, putting it into crypto, putting it into stocks, buying real estate, looking for other business opportunities that I might invest in or buy. Someone else has a business that I might be able to borrow to put money into and help them grow it. Things like that. And I'm gonna tell you guys, I'm not good at it a lot of times. I would say 80% of my investments I lose. I lose money on.
It's all about that one winner, that two winners.
Yep, you just need one or two big winners. But like I had a detail shop I went in on someone that was 80 to 100 grand down. The furniture chain I had to put in. I put in an initial investment of 1.5 million, which was a lot of money for me a year and a half ago. To a few months ago, taking half of what I had left from my earnings last year and buying that asshole of a partner out. And so that right now I'm at a $4 million loss into that business, and I'm only being able to pay myself like $60,000 salary off of running 9 stores. So keep in mind, guys, like wealth ain't easy. Businesses ain't easy. This is not the best route. And a lot of days, like even this morning, my thoughts were like, I don't want to do this anymore. But I have to. And in a time like this, how can I have the integrity to close everything down and basically say fuck off to all my workers? That's not a that's not integrity. That's not what being a business owner is. That's being very, very selfish, self-centered, egotistical. So I built these things, and there are people that rely on these businesses to earn an income and a livelihood for their families. So I will get up. And if that requires me to get up at 3 o'clock in the morning, then I will get up at 3 o'clock in the morning. If that requires me to keep working till midnight, then I will keep working till midnight. If that requires me to miss holidays with my family, then I will miss holidays with my family. That's the part of business a lot of people don't see.
They don't think about.
People don't think about. That's the stuff that you don't see. That's the stuff Jeff Bezos went through to keep pushing Amazon forward. That's the stuff Steve Jobs did. And they had even harder routes because they had times where they needed like 70, 80, $100 million.
Steve Jobs had a hard route at the beginning. Like, it was hard for him. It was even when he was first starting Apple, like it was hard. Nobody really believed in. Not everybody believed in his vision when he first started.
Yeah, and he was the first batch of young tech entrepreneurs. So at that time, nobody believed in young people. Nowadays, you have a few venture capital firms, but even still, you're running a business like Amazon. You're building it. It's in the growing stages. The economy turns to shit, and you have to go out there and get 100, 200, 300, 400, 500, maybe even $1 billion. You have to get people to invest $1 billion. And you know how hard that is?
$1 billion of yeah.
That is crazy. And you have a deadline to do it. You might be coming into Friday saying, I got to find $1 billion by Monday. That's the crazy part. That's what people don't understand. And that's what a lot of, and I hate this. I don't like we're not a political channel. And I'm really not a political person, but that's what I see on a lot of liberal sides is that they don't understand what it takes. A lot of them don't understand what it takes to run a business. You don't understand the sacrifice. You don't understand the hardship. You don't understand the bankruptcy. Like, let's just say, for instance, you're running a $3 million a year revenue business. Economy goes south, and you have to declare bankruptcy. Who's responsible for paying all your employees, making sure their tax withholdings are paid? What if you don't have the money to pay those? Who's responsible? Business owner. All the taxes, you're liable for it, and you got to pay it. IRS don't care. So if you end up having a $500,000 bill and you have no income, you're going to go to jail. 2, you're going to come out of jail and you're going to have to pay the restitution. It sucks. Like, owning a business is a shit ton of risk. That's why I always say a 9 to 5 will save your life because you don't have to worry about that responsibility. Your only worry is be better than the workers around you and provide more value than anyone else ever could.
That's the only thing a worker has to worry about, really.
Yes. That's all you have to do. Because trust me, it will suck if you walk in one day and there's chains on the doors and there ain't nobody in the office. There ain't nobody in the store. The business is closed. No knowledge, no warning, no nothing. Because that's what some people will do. Most people aren't like me. Most people are very selfish. They will not work harder to make sure you can have a paycheck. They will work what they need to do. And if they need to bounce, trust me, they will bounce without hesitation. Without hesitation. They'll leave everyone that helped them achieve the lifestyle that they achieved out to dry. I can't do that. I definitely can't do that. But let me tell you, there are hundreds, thousands of business owners who will do that without even thinking about it. They will just, if they need to end it, they will end it without hesitation. If they need to sell, they will sell without hesitation. I call them quitters. Just because I started a business, I may have worked hard from the beginning, but I got other people that worked hard for me. Now I'm able to live this lifestyle. I am obligated to get my ass in here. I'm obligated to get my fat ass in here and work harder than I've ever had before to make sure I can keep paying them so they can put food on their table for their kids. Because if you don't have that type of integrity, my opinion, don't get your ass into business. Because it's people's lives at stake here. Not just your money, it's everybody's life. It's everybody's worries. It's everybody's family. My mentor said he never fired a person in his 50 years of doing business. Never fired. Never fired. Now, I've had people walk out on me, but I've only had to fire one, and that was because he got drunk and high while driving on my truck and smashed it into a goddamn hotel.
That is retarded.
And then expected me to pay for it.
No.
His ass had to come. Because I ain't paying for that shit. You gonna pay for it.
Drunk and high, driving the company truck.
Drunk and high, and smashed it.
Both. It's already bad with one, but both.
Both. So you can see. So
That's crazy.
I have an obligation to make sure the people that work for me are getting paid.
Remember when I was working with you and what was his name? He backed the truck up and he broke something on the property. It was the storage property.
Yes, I remember that guy.
And I
Yep.
think he said that it wasn't his fault and y'all went back and forth.
Yeah, we went back and forth, and the camera spotted it. Like, they had a camera system, and it showed him driving clear as day in the cab, and he didn't even he didn't really look. He just turned and damaged something, like the roof or like the gutters or something. It wasn't like a big fix. It was like $500, but he ended up paying for it because he did not follow company policy. I guess Cody kind of dropped out there, but he will be back in a second here. But that's what I'm saying. Like, owning a business is freaking hard. And I don't know why everyone online is telling a lot of people that's your ticket to wealth, because it's not. Some of the wealthiest people I've met worked for someone else. Granted, a lot of them did work for Fortune 500 companies, but they worked for someone else. They weren't trying to make it. Yes, you can make it and the most wealth you can make quickly can be through a business, but you can also fail and lose everything. And there's a 99.9% chance that you will fail every single time. I have started 6 businesses in my life, and 4 of them failed. One failed so bad I was negative 1.8 million in debt, and it took me 3 years to recover. I had to go work at a furniture store and make close to $280,000 a year to even come close to paying it off. And it sucked. I had to pretty much give up everything. So you don't want to go that route. But we're here at the 2-hour mark. I think we're going to call it quits for today, as I have to get to running my business here, as I got stuff to answer. So, but thank you so much for you guys joining in. If there's anything I could say for you guys, it's make sure you do your research, make sure you do your due diligence, save your damn money, find ways to cut out the unnecessary things you're spending money on your budget. It's going to be a rough economy in the next few years. Be prepared, save, and once you get your reserve fund, then start investing. That's what I have. Don't try not to listen to all the news out there, because it's designed to scare you and draw you another way. I'm not saying it's going to be scary, because it will be a little scary, but make sure you're working very hard to get to where you want to be. It's going to take a lot of hard work. It's going to take a lot of grit and grind, and it's going to be a lot of suffrage that you might have to go through to get the wealth that you want. And if you're even at the end of 20 years, you have a net worth of maybe only $3 million, you have succeeded beyond your wildest dreams. Don't think that you have failed. You have succeeded. Even if you paid off all your debts and you have a couple $100,000 after 10 years, you have succeeded. You have done well, because you are in a better position than 80% of the population. But with that said, guys, do your own research. Don't invest in anything you don't understand. And as you guys know, I'm not a financial advisor, but I was a licensed stockbroker. And what that meant was, I don't give a shit about your financial path. I only care about whether you want to buy or sell something. That's it. All I did was execute your trades. With that saying, guys, have a great weekend. Have a safe weekend. We'll see you guys tomorrow for What's in Your Portfolio at 10 a.m. as we go over my portfolios, my wins and losses in there, and we answer any investment questions you guys may have. It's once a month, and we always do it on a Sunday for you guys. And stay tuned. If you guys want to join the Patreon, there's going to be a lot of exclusive videos going up in the next week, as well as you get the pre-launch of the stock pick and crypto pick videos, which 4 videos are going to drop by Sunday for there. So if you want to check those out, definitely join our Patreon. It's $5. If you guys like to join, you get access to the Discord. Cody and I are always typing in there. You guys can, the more minds working together investing, the the more likely we are going to succeed at it. That's how it always works. Because if you go to those trading firms, they just have like 30 or 40 people thinking about shit. They're just paying them to think about the economy and investing. But that said, guys, thank you so much. I'm going to check out. You guys have been wonderful. Really appreciate all your support. Hit that like and subscribe button, and we will see you next time.